Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I am Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines. India and Canada say they are working together to secure critical mineral and clean energy supply chains as global trade turbulence intensifies under new US tariffs. In India's Bihar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led National Democratic Alliance heads to a landslide win in the state elections, nearing victories in more than two-thirds of all constituencies. Two judges in Pakistan's Supreme Court resigned just hours after Parliament passed amendments cutting judicial powers. One of the two judges says the new law subjugates the judiciary to executive control. The Philippine Air Force completes its purchase of 5 new Black Hawk helicopters from Poland, boosting air operations capability amid ongoing tensions in the South China Sea. And French President Emmanuel Macron inaugurates a memorial garden honouring the 130 victims of the 2015 terror attacks, a space designed by survivors and families of the victims. We begin in the United States and its long-loaded debate on work visas. A controversial Republican voice in Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has proposed a bill to end the H-1B visa program altogether. Greene, who represents Georgia's 14th district, announced her bill on November the 13th, declaring that she wants to end the mass replacement of American workers by phasing out H-1B visas. She accused big tech, AI companies, hospitals and manufacturing sectors of abusing the system to hire foreign workers over Americans. Greene's bill offers one exemption. She proposed up to 10,000 visas a year only for doctors and nurses. But even that would be phased out after 10 years, eventually taking the H-1B program to zero. She claims such a move is necessary to supposedly protect the American dream for the next generation by investing in local talent, not foreign labour. Let's listen in.
My bill will also restore the original intent of the visa, for it to be temporary. These visas were intended to fulfill a specialty occupational need at a given time. People should not be allowed to come and live here forever. We thank them for their expertise, but we also wish them well so they may return to their home country. My bill will take away the pathway to citizenship, forcing visa holders to return home when their visa expires.
The timing of the bill is significant because it's in sharp contrast to recent comments made by President Donald Trump. Earlier this week, in an interview with Fox News, Trump defended the need for a robust H-1B system, saying the United States does not have certain talents that high-tech and defense industries require.
You don't have certain talents. People have to learn. You can't take people off the unemployment line and say, go make missiles. You have to bring in talent.
Yet, Trump's administration has taken a harder line on the program, imposing a new $100,000 annual fee for fresh H-1B applications and rolling out stricter oversight to tackle what it calls systemic abuse. At least 2 business groups have already sued the administration, arguing that the fee makes hiring global talent impossible and risks pushing innovation out of the United States. These lawsuits are still moving through federal courts, and the White House has vowed to fight them through.
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first and also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court.
For Indians, who are the biggest source of H-1B talent, the bill adds to an already uncertain future. Indian engineers, developers, doctors and researchers make up nearly 2/3 of all H-1B recipients in some years. Indians form the core of workforces at Google, Microsoft, Tesla and dozens of US defence tech firms. A full phase-out, even a slow one, would hit both India's remittance flows and America's talent pipelines, a fact repeatedly flagged by industry leaders. Green's bill is expected to be symbolic, with little chance of passing in its current form. But it pushes the debate into new and extreme terrain ahead of crucial immigration negotiations in Congress. The H-1B programme, crucial to American innovation and deeply linked to India, is now caught between competing visions in Washington. As legal battles continue and new bills emerge, the fate of one of the world's most important work visa systems remains unsettled. Staying in the United States, America's colleges are seeing a sharp drop in international students. New data shows fewer young people from around the world are applying, and the decline is being linked directly to the White House. A report from the Common App, the country's biggest college application platform, shows international applications have fallen by 9% compared to last year. There was a 14% decline from India, the largest source of international students to the US. There was an 18% drop in applications from students in Africa and 9% from Asia. And even China, a consistent driver of enrolment, has stalled. This decline comes after months of federal action targeting foreign students. So far this year, the Trump administration has revoked thousands of visas, restricted visa interviews, and imposed new application rules. The government has also arrested several students involved in pro-Palestinian activism and launched multiple investigations into universities with large international communities. Two of America's most prestigious universities have already struck deals with the White House. Columbia agreed to cut its reliance on foreign students and cooperate with immigration authorities. Cornell has restored $250 million in federal funding after paying a $60 million settlement. The Common App data is only a snapshot, but the signal is clear. A year ago, international applications were climbing at this stage. Now, they're dropping across almost every major source country. For American universities that depend on full tuition students from abroad, this is a warning. If the trend holds through to March, it could hit campus budgets, research programs, and even local economies built around these students. The bottom line? Well, Washington's crackdown is reshaping American higher education. And if the numbers continue to fall, it could mark the biggest shift in international student traffic in more than a decade. Bangladesh's economic future looks uncertain as the latest IMF review showed a sharp decline. The downturn followed months of political upheaval and the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The International Monetary Fund said Bangladesh's GDP growth in the 2025 financial year slowed to 3.7%, down from 4.2% in the 2024 financial year. Inflation also stayed high at 8.2% in October, even though it had dropped from double-digit levels earlier this year. The IMF noted that Bangladesh is still struggling with major financial problems, like low tax collection, weak banks that lacked enough capital, and slow reforms. The IMF also said the economic slowdown is linked to months of unrest during the student-led uprising that disrupted production, tightened government policies, and increased overall uncertainty. The uprising removed former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina from power in August of 2024. Hundreds were killed, and factories, transport networks, and investments were disrupted across the country. Sheikh Hasina, who ruled Bangladesh for more than 15 years, fled to India after the uprising. She has been tried in absentia for alleged crimes against humanity related to the July unrest, with 54 witnesses testifying. Hasina has defended her record, saying she had dedicated her life to improving Bangladesh.
I have dedicated my life to improving Bangladesh. In our 15 years in power, we grew Bangladesh into an economic powerhouse, invested in major national infrastructure, built meaningful trade links with our international partners, and lifted millions out of poverty.
The IMF said Bangladesh must simplify and strengthen its tax system and fix weaknesses in the financial sector to overcome its current challenges. Inflation is expected to remain high at 8.8% next year and won't ease until the 2027 financial year. As Bangladesh grapples with economic instability, the pressure falls on the interim government under Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus. He announced that the next parliamentary election and a referendum on the National Charter will be held together in the first half of February.
I have announced that the national parliamentary elections will be held in the first half of February. We are taking all necessary preparations to ensure the polls are festive, participatory and fair. We are making every effort to properly fulfill the responsibilities entrusted to us.
The country has seen growing disorder, from political parties staging nationwide protests to teachers demonstrating against the current administration. And as Bangladesh works to stabilise after months of political unrest, the IMF's latest review presented a sobering assessment of an economy weakened by turmoil, structural gaps and pressures on its financial system. With elections approaching and critical reforms still unfinished, the country faces the urgent task of restoring confidence while navigating economic strain and a dramatically altered political landscape. And for our next story, we turn to West Asia. Palestinian residents say that on Thursday, Israeli settlers set a mosque in the Palestinian village of Deir Istia in the north of the West Bank on fire. Visuals show charred walls and shattered windows inside the mosque. Reports also suggest that slogans were sprayed on the mosque's exterior, condemning Avi Blot, who was the commander of the Central Command. There were also derogatory references made about the Prophet Muhammad. Residents say they managed to put out the fire before it could spread to other parts of the mosque. The Israeli military has confirmed that they sent forces to the site to examine this incident. Nobody was reported injured.
What happened last night is that a group of settlers carried out a heinous attack on Haja Hamida Mosque that is located between Deir Istia village and Kifl Haris, northwest of Salfit. This attack comes within the framework of the declared war against the Palestinian people by settlers with the support of the occupation government. This attack violated the sanctity of places of worship and mosques. There were racist slogans written on the mosque walls from the northern side that insult our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This is not the first attack on mosques in Deir Istia. There was an attack several years ago on Imam Ali ben Abi Talib Mosque, 2 times in a row by settlers, and with racist slogans every time.
In another reported incident, suggestions are that 2 children were killed yesterday in a town located in the southern West Bank. The children were fatally shot when Israeli forces allegedly opened fire during an army raid in the area. However, the circumstances of the shooting remain disputed. Since October the 1st, the United Nations Humanitarian Agency, or OCHA, highlights at least 167 settler-related attacks which have been linked to the olive harvest in the region. And the West Bank, which is home to around 2.7 million Palestinians, remains central to global discussions on a future Palestinian state. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs also notes that Israeli settlers carried out at least 264 attacks on Palestinians in October, which is the highest monthly figure since the UN began formally tracking in 2006. In a press briefing, a United Nations spokesperson said that UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is deeply disturbed by the reported attack on a mosque in the West Bank. Let's listen.
Regarding the West Bank, I can tell you that we are deeply disturbed by the attacks by Israeli settlers who set fire overnight to a mosque in a West Bank village. Such attacks on places of worship are completely unacceptable. We have and will continue to condemn attacks by Israeli settlers on Palestinians and their property in the West Bank. Israel, as the occupying power, has a responsibility to protect the civilian population and ensure that those responsible for these attacks, including this attack on a mosque and the spray painting of horrendous language on a mosque, be brought to account.
The incident adds to a sharp rise in tensions across the West Bank, as Israel is pushing to annex the region and formalise its plans. Last month, the Knesset, Israel's parliament, approved 2 bills for the same, a move that even its staunchest ally, the United States, has strongly opposed. Alongside the Trump administration, the Palestinian Foreign Ministry also condemned the move, saying Israel has no sovereignty over Palestinian land. So, as international agencies continue to warn of escalating violence and its impact on civilians living across the territory, communities brace for the possibility of further incidents amid a steady rise in tensions. That's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.